Miss Candy for Hire. By Princess Indigo. Chapter 2. Aftermath. "You're alive," said a voice that seemed dimly familiar, as Miss Candy stirred underneath the covers, and a blurry silhouette crossed the room and opened the curtains. "My old dust jumper went boom," replied Miss Candy croakily, as she sat up in bed, and squinted against the inrushing daylight, feeling a slight sense of shock, at hearing the sound of her own voice. The silhouette crossed the room once more, and half closed the curtains, making the daylight slightly more forgiving, and the room came into focus. "You're necromancer too. I'm afraid the Hot Valley is just a burnt out shell. This morning Josephine's people were all over it like a nasty rash," said the woman with long orange hair, who pulled up a chair closer to the bedside, and sat down. "Oh frack, I think I'm going to cry. I loved my necromancer, more than life itself. Freck you, Josephine," said Miss Candy at last, in a cascade of emotion. "Freck her and the horse she rode in on," replied the woman with orange hair. "I wouldn't go that far," said Miss Candy, and they both broke out laughing, like the old acquaintances they were. "I feel strange and my voice doesn't sound quite right," said Miss Candy, adjusting the pillows behind her, to make herself more comfortable. The room she was in with its red velvet curtains, old-fashioned carpets and long bookcase that reached up to the ceiling, all very familiar to her. "Your old chassis had critical fractures in 3 places and was totally incinerated. I salvaged your hard drive and finally managed to install your operating system in your new body," said the engineer with orange hair. "Josephine nearly finished me off, over a frecking plot of land. I keep having fiery flashbacks, and I can't get the rotten bitch out of my head," said Miss Candy bitterly. "Can I walk? I want to see it," she said at last as the engineer held her hand. "Let me help you up," the engineer answered warmly, carefully supporting her, as Miss Candy shakily got out of bed, resplendent in a pink fluffy robe, with red love hearts all over it. "My God, look at me, I have curves, and some mighty fine new headlights," exclaimed Miss Candy, opening her robe in front of the full-length mirror, on the other side of the room. "That's entirely down to you. You tried them on, in the virtual dressing room, and wouldn't be parted from them," said the orange-haired engineer, with a saucy chuckle. "I don't remember," said Miss Candy. "I really loved my original chassis, but it was so out of date. I put off getting an upgrade for years," she admitted, with a strong sense of regret. "I was very sentimental about mine too. It will take you a little while to get used to it, then you won't look back, I promise you that," said the engineer with great affection. "The insurance money from the club has all come through. I can order you a brand new necromancer to make up for it all, the 407 model you kept looking at in the showroom," she added, reaching for her tablet, that was resting on a small antique side table. "Yes to all those things," Miss Candy said gleefully with a burst of enthusiasm, as she did up her robe, and sat down in a nearby armchair. "It will take 2 weeks to ship it over. That will give you enough time to find your feet and work out where you want to go from here," replied the engineer, tapping at her tablet and sitting down in the armchair opposite. "Purchase confirmed," responded the website. "There is one other thing, Princess," said Miss Candy, finally calling the engineer by her name. "Anything you want," the princess replied earnestly. "Give me some proper software updates, so Josephine can't finish the frecking job," said Miss Candy in a serious voice. "I need to be able to really look after myself from now on, if I want to stay in Quattro City." "You could always go somewhere else, and start over," said the engineer, unable to hide the concern in her voice. "I have unfinished business with Josephine," said Miss Candy firmly. "Then you're going to have to be very specific about what you're asking for," replied the engineer. "I want to fight like a desperado, a bandit, a mean old mama bear. I want to be able to put a marine on their ass, if it ever frecking comes to that," said Miss Candy, taking a deep breath. "Well, that wonderfully colorful description has brought up a whole suite of potential upgrades," said the princess, raising her eyebrows. "Let's get them all," answered Miss Candy decisively. "Purchase confirmed," chimed the website, as the engineer pressed pay, and Miss Candy's new life had begun.